Hey,
What's going on?
what's
We are
happening?
super late on this episode of Six.
We are very late, you guys. So sorry. Oh, thank you everybody for coming in. Yes, they're like,
Yes.
where y'all been at?
Where have you guys been?
We are here. Sorry. Sometimes things happen. You've been rocking with us for a while now. Y'all know what happens with us sometimes.
I don't know if we ever ran 15 minutes late though.
We're 13 minutes. It's 8:13 over here. Okay.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Nyce Kicks.
Nice kicks, kicking back.
Episode 462, I feel like.
Yep.
We've been doing this for so long.
Yep.
But thank you to everybody rocking with us. Let us know if you can hear us okay. As you know, we are live. We do this live every week. So
Live and direct.
like literally room for anything to happen.
Correct.
But yeah, we're very happy to have you guys here with us today. We're gonna do what we do.
Get it popping.
I realized our current events more so turn into being about music or the culture. So like we probably just do a music section at this point. Because for the most part, that's all we talk about. Hey Racine.
Hey Racine, how are you? Yes, we do. We literally talk about we love music. I love music. So it's always something. There's always something going on.
Always.
So Tory Lanez got a new album again.
Yep.
I was like, I'm going to, because I always check through my music and I always check for new releases. Every day I always check to see. And I was like, oh shoot, Tory Lanez again. But I'm like, damn, he's been popping them out so fast. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, let me listen to it. So I get it going. I'm like, okay, track 1, track 2, track 3. And when I first listen to an album, I don't listen to the entire songs of every of the thing. I listen for a little bit, go try to feel out the album before I go back.
Yep.
And I skipped through the whole thing so fast. And by the time I was like, okay, this next song, it was back to the intro.
Yep.
Sway.
Yeah. I listened to it in the gym, and I like the Chris Brown joint Feels, which I think is a single he has out. But I feel like he gypped us on production and beats. I was really surprised. I'm like, this is not like the fire I expected, and I wasn't being stuck on the Megan situation. Like, Let It Go. You had a whole how many songs?
How many albums?
Like Let It Go. So yeah.
Yes.
Not the best, but he's fine. Like he's one of the artists in quarantine that did so well with his lives. Like he's just BSing. And he's independent, so he's just doing whatever. Hi Elsa.
Hey Elsa, thank you.
We're struggling at the beginning of this live in the backstage area because I'm like one side of my eyes this way and one brow is this way and my bun is da da da. So thank you, Elsa. I'm glad to see you here with us. Yeah, so that's interesting. But on another front, Versus.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Some great news for Swiss and Timberland and all the artists. I think it was 43 artists that were part of Versus, and now they're getting paid out like for being part of the project, like being a part of Versus happening, which is dope because there was a lot of controversy. Some artists didn't want to get on, so I wonder if they're like, damn, now I wish I would have done it.
Right. I hope that people still think of it like, okay, I was doing it for the culture or whatever, the fact, even if it came and passed, because it really is like that thing blew up. That was one of the most positive things that came out of being locked down in quarantine and COVID. I think Versus was an amazing idea.
Next to Nyce Kicks.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
We were definitely
positive. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm like so happy for where they've come, how far they've come. And then there's another Versus coming up, which I'm so excited about. Raekwon and Ghostface. Like, oh my God, I'm hyped. You already know I'm gonna do something at my house next Saturday, 8 p.m. Like I'm already like, I gotta do it. Because that for me, that's growing up for me. Like that's that hard hitting shit. So I'm dumb excited for that.
Yeah. Swiss is definitely intelligent, man. I must say, because like COVID looks like it's probably at some point going to and
die down.
like things will change and die down. People will be outside. So it's like, what better time to do it now when things may shift, and they may just change the platform altogether when or a Triller might change the platform, whatever. So yeah, shout out to Swiss on his ever changing evolutionary brain, making shit happen.
He's a smart dude. He's a very, very smart dude. Very smart dude. And he keeps it authentic for the people. And that's what I appreciate about him. What up, Edgar? How you doing?
Facts.
Checking in. Another current event we got was the Meghan Markle story.
Mm-hmm.
The interview she did with Oprah. Now, we've done Nyce Kicks so many times where I've been like, aha moment, shout out Oprah. Because, you know, guys, I'm obsessed with Oprah. She is my guardian mentor without even knowing it. But I'm obsessed with Oprah and have been for many, 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 many years. So this was kind of like a throw out, you know, drop an album type thing. Nobody knows about it. You know, it ain't on the books. It ain't scheduled type of thing. And they just dropped the interview with Meghan Markle and her husband. And it was very interesting. She had some extremely crazy points that even some of them, Oprah, I watched a couple of interviews that Gail did, CNN, CNBC, and all of those channels with Oprah. And she was like, some of the stuff I was shocked by. She didn't get paid for it, for the interview. She didn't know what the questions were prior. So Meghan just went into it kind of just just being very vulnerable and transparent.
Right. And she went through some shit, but it's always current events line up right with the topic. Yeah, so I watched pieces of the interview. I didn't watch the full interview, but you know, there were parts where, you know, Harry didn't want to talk about specifics in terms of, you know, the topic that we're talking about this evening, in colorism. You know, he didn't want to identify the person who had the conversation about, you know, the baby coming out and being a certain skin tone, which I almost feel like, I don't know, I'm not him, obviously, so I can't speak for him, but I'm just like, why do the interview if you're not going to out the person who perpetuated the issue within?
Yeah, I can see that too. I think it was more about Meghan doing the interview and telling her truth and just him being there as the support leg for her, and not really, you know, going into it too much to say names or anything like that, because the royal family is a big deal. Like, it's huge. And it was funny because they were a lot of interviews that were happening over in their part of town. Was a lot of the older people were saying that there's nothing wrong with it. They didn't see anything. How could they be racist? Blah, 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 blah. But a lot of the younger people were like, no, I see where she's coming from. So I thought that was pretty interesting in their own backyard. But now for him to say, I'm leaving my country and I'm coming to America and we're moving here because I don't want the things to happen to my life and to my wife that happened to his mom, Princess Diana. It's crazy.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Edgar said, England invented racism. They brought Black people over from Africa. So, you know, for anyone just tuning in, this is Nyce Kicks Live. We do this every Thursday, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We moved the platform from IG to YouTube. So, you know, welcome to our channel. Thank you for being here. And I just want to start off tonight's topic with saying that it's a very sensitive topic for Lisa and myself. Like, we've dealt with, you know, issues in colorism. This is not an easy conversation, but it's a necessary conversation. And if you've ever watched a Nyce Kicks episode on IG or went back to IGTV that we've done, or you know anything about us on Nyce Kicks, we're super transparent and we're super authentic in terms of what we talk about. And you know, I battled myself in even coming to the forefront and having this conversation because I know how sensitive it is. And the fact that you and I are both women of color on the lighter spectrum, and being the representation for Nyce Kicks, it was like, oh, what do we do? Do we get someone else on? Do we add to?
We went
so
through
many thoughts behind having this episode. So for anyone who's tuning in and watching, just know that Lisa and I want to present this as an awareness. You know, colorism is a big thing. It's talked about, but not as much. But it's like racism. It hasn't been fully handled. There's no tie to it, but you know, it's very deep in our community, meaning all of us, you know. So we wanted to talk about it. We didn't want to sweep it under the rug. We want everyone to know we're coming from a place of being even keeled and just sharing our experiences, and then just talking about kind of the roots and the story behind it. So I just wanted to start by saying that, because I don't need nobody coming for me.
They gonna come regardless.
From me,
any episode.
but also we want everyone to feel comfortable coming into our space and talking about it, because Nyce Kicks is a kickback. It's about kicking it with our audience and kicking it with you guys. So we want you to feel comfortable
and having a real conversation. Absolutely. So one of the things. So again, guys, our topic this evening is colorism, and to me, the idea about it came when there was that song that Danny Lay.
Yeah.
What's her name? When Danny Lay did that song, that got so much craziness over with the baby, and it brought me back to because that was one of our current events that we had talked about on one of the episodes. And that brought me back to, wow, colorism is really still a thing, and we don't talk about it enough. I think a lot of times, at least in my experiences, people joke about it, you know, light skin versus dark skin, whatever. Yeah. But it's not really talked about on a serious level. And then looking through it, so in the notes, like in my notes that we do together, and I'm typing it in, you type it in on the word colorism on in your iPhone, it goes to automatically autocorrect. And one of the things that I found in the research of this issue was that it's not even actually a real word. It's not in the dictionary right now, and they haven't really deemed it as a real word. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well. You know, you have racism, discrimination, you have all of these other terms, but the colorism word is not really a real word. And it's crazy to me because I feel like, you know, again, like I said earlier, it's not talked about enough or at all.
And so colorism, just for anyone who's like just joining live or who doesn't have an idea what colorism actually means, in terms of like the practice of discrimination within the community based on skin tone, you know, like Lisa mentioned, the light skin versus dark skin being a joke, but this goes back like slave days, right? Yes. And the lighter you worked in the house, the darker you worked in the fields. And so now it's created a lot of tension between, especially I think, women of color, right? More so, yes, than the men, even though the men go through it too with the Drake issue, like the Drake comments and like light skinned dudes are soft and all, like there's a whole lot to it. But going back to the roots of where this actually started, I can see why it's so crazy now. And it's like you said, like racism, it still exists, right? It didn't go anywhere. But with colorism and the fact that it's a form of white supremacy, right? It's a way for them to pit us against each other. So now we're fighting against each other without them having to do it, like we're doing it to ourselves. Like, why is this something that still continues if essentially it should be in our control?
Right. And that goes back to, you know, when you say the white supremacy, back to the slavery days where, you know, you had to pass that brown paper bag test. And even when my mother and my uncle growing up, you know, they had to pass that brown paper bag test. But back in the slavery days where, you know, slaves were assigned certain tasks, you know, we always say like, oh, you was a house nigga, basically. So you were in the house if you were lighter skin, but you were in the field picking the cotton if you were darker skin. So going back to that, putting us against each other, even at that has already set up that foundation going into many, 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 many years now into where we are right now.
Hi, Alex. I see Alex and Lenny up in the building.
What's up, Alex,
guys? We see this a lot in media as well, especially in the Latino media, for sure. And I remember, and I may butcher her name, so excuse me if I do, but Amara La Negra, whatever her name was, the girl that was
Amara, the Afro
Latina.
Yeah,
I'm like, I probably will not right?
I can't even roll my tongue, so you probably do better than me.
You can't do the R's.
No, I cannot. I cannot. Yeah, that I can't do that.
But she was like, her thing was she wanted to represent for like the Afro Latinas.
Yes.
And you know, she's of a darker skin tone. She has the big afro. So to Alex's point, it's not just like a U.S. Black thing. Like this happens on a global level, right?
Right.
Colorism, like skin bleaching, is a $1 billion business.
Completely.
When I looked at it, I was like, that is insane. Like,
it's huge. And you know what? It's so big in like the Asian community. They're already lighter, fairer skin.
Yeah.
They don't want to become darker because of their mindset on darker toned people. And that's why you'll see a lot of times, you know, I grew up in Chinatown, and you'll see a lot of times where when it's sunny out and it's summer and it's hot, they're walking around with umbrellas or hats because they don't want to get tans. They're not trying to get darker. So a lot of times, even in the Asian community, and they will bleach their skin to be very, very, very white.
Yeah, because the idea is like the lighter you are, the it's status, right? You have more money, that whole thing. Because even when I worked in cosmetics, I remember us having a launch, and it was like the K-pop thing was major, and like Asian culture, they have 12 steps to their skincare routine in the morning. You know, it really is about like, again, if you're outside, your darker skin goes back to the idea of like you're working in the fields, your darker skin. They didn't want to relate to that.
Right.
And so, like, to Edgar's point, he literally just said out of my mouth. So I'm just go ahead. Yes. Currently bleaching is very true. Of Africa and Jamaica. And again, going back to hip hop, Spice. She was another example.
I was gonna say that. Remember the episode that she had?
Right. But like I feel like, so that for me is where I take issue in looking at where we are with it right now, is the fact that there's social media, there's media in general that are still perpetrating this whole issue. Because if Spice didn't have that position on Love and Hip Hop to go as far as like making her skin lighter on the episode, it's like, what was the reason for them to bring it to the forefront? Were they making it, were they doing it out of awareness, or are they doing it out of like getting like their ratings up, right? And it's like, where does it stop? Like, where do we stop seeing people reposting memes on, you know, light skinned chick? You're not gonna get a text back if she light skinned or whatever. Like, you see all that stuff in social media. Like, where do we stop engaging in the activity so that doesn't happen and it doesn't continue? And especially too in dating.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Definitely. I'm like, yes, definitely in dating.
Hold on, get the thoughts.
Yeah, it's very true. Because, you know, and again, I'm only gonna speak off of I'll speak some facts to you guys based on research, but I'm speaking a lot based on experience, my own personal experience as well, which will be majority of it. But, you know, I think me growing up, it was a lot of guys that would prefer to date light-skinned women. You know, it's like, oh, you got to get a light-skinned girl, long hair, don't care, whatever type of thing. You know what I mean? So that was always kind of a thing. And what I found too is even with darker skinned men, they are looked more as to women or in the relationship in a dating as more like chocolate, masculine, sexual beings, versus, you know, the women who are darker skinned in the community.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of like editorial, high fashion models, right? You see a lot of the dark skinned women are portrayed as like there's something with food, or like,
right, or it's all very natural body, very natural hair. You know, I use a website to do a lot of my marketing promotion and stuff through, and you know, you can search pictures and templates on there, and every time when I search pictures for like beauty or lashes, for the mood lashes, or women, it's usually majority white women, but the black women that do come up are darker skin. And they have more the natural hair. They're not, it doesn't look as put together as the ones that, or high fashion as the ones that the white women are in.
Right.
And I'm like, what the hell? That just happened to me a couple days ago. I'm like, where's all the women on here? Where's all the black sisters on here?
Right. Or even scrolling through like Forever 21 or a website for clothing, you don't see a lot of that representation.
Or you'll see it on Cheerios or a commercial like that where the woman is very dark skinned with a white man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you never really see a lighter skinned woman with a white man. They don't really pair that together in the media.
Right. I see a lot of that in dating too. And like one of the questions that I had thought about and wrote down when we were going through notes is, you know, is colorism primarily darker girls and lighter girls, or do they see some issues with the girls in between? Because when I look at like the dating world, oftentimes I see either a dark-skinned woman with a white man, more than I ever see a white man with like a light-skinned woman, or with a like. I have so many thoughts going through my mind right now, so I'm like trying to compartmentalize what I need to say and how I want to say it. But you know, I see that often. I don't really see a lot of light-skinned women or lighter-skinned men dating the same. Like it's just different. Nyce said colorism was ingrained in our standards of beauty and social status ever since Africans were enslaved.
Absolutely.
Yep, sure. We talked about that a little bit in the beginning. And like talk about your experience. I remember when I was going to high school, my mom actually said to me, and it's based on what she went through as well. Because my mom, I mean, if anybody knows me on United Kicks or whatever, I heard me talk about my mom. My mom's lighter skinned. All her siblings are darker skinned, but my grandfather was darker skinned. My grandmother was lighter. My grandmother's Bayesian. My grandfather is Indian. Like my mom always got picked on. So she was the fighter. Like out of all her siblings, she was always the one that had to fight like, all the time. And I remember going to high school and her telling me like, you're light skinned, you're pretty, and you have long hair, so you need to be careful because someone's gonna try to cut your face. And I was like, whoa, like where is that coming from? But you see it stems from history and what they've been through. And what she saw as a young girl growing up and going through high school. Like she didn't even want to go to school a lot of times. And when I was in middle school, I was bullied by a girl who was darker skinned. And I don't know exactly, right? Because I haven't had a conversation with her. Like, was I bullied because I was light skinned, she was dark skinned, or was it just one thing? But it was a dark skinned girl and her white friend. The friend was white. And like literally every day they would bully me. And I remember my sex ed teacher, I don't even know if she's sex ed in school anymore, but I don't know teacher, she was like, just ignore them. I promise you they'll go away. And so I was like, all right, let me ignore them. Because for me, I felt like I had to fight back. I felt like I had to be tough and play tough in order to fit in. Right? Which sounds crazy because like I think light-skinned women and dark-skinned women go through different levels of microaggression within colorism, right? Yep. But again, the darker skinned women has been perceived to have it the worst because of how the colorism started and the history behind it.
Right.
And again, I'm trying to calculate my thoughts because I don't want to offend anyone. But you know, it happens on both spectrums.
Yes. And same with me growing up, my mother and my aunt, my cousin's mother, because my cousin is very light, and she always had very thin, straight, textured hair without needing a perm or any of that. You know what I mean? So she just always, we always heard that from them as well. Like, you're light skinned, you're pretty, blah, 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 blah. You're going to have issues. And that stuck in with me. Like, all right, a darker skinned girl is not going to like me or is not going to want to be friends with me because I'm light skinned for whatever reason. And it was a lot of that growing up in high school and all of those things. And just seeing like your family, I'm from Cape Verdean descent, and I have cousins who are blonde with blue eyes. I have a cousin who has green eyes. My grandmother, she looks like a white woman. She looks like a legit white woman. So, saying like, oh, you know, you got Indian in your family or whatever the case. Like there was just so many jokes and so many things that I heard growing up. You know, you think you're too good because, you know, you're a house nigga or whatever the case is. So, you know, those things that they're still challenging to hear, but you don't know how to grow up and be an adult and handle that in society. And I know we'll talk about this later, but we've also experienced those things as adults with people in our lives.
Right. And some it's happening on Basketball Wives to OG. Well, she's accusing the cast of colorism. And you know, I watched Basketball Wives up to a point, and we had talked about this on a previous episode of Nyce, and I kind of just stopped watching the toxic TV. But again, I tend to wonder in casting and production and writing, like, do they write that in to teach, or do they write that in to portray the issue? And that's really like what we got to think about in terms of even engaging and watching and supporting those kind of shows. Like, what is it saying about us? Are we really trying to fix the issue, or are we just supporting the bullshit, right? And you know, to Edgar's point, these light-skinned girls as exotic, like I used to hear that a lot too. Oh, you know, your CV exotic. I mean, we're from an island, so fine. But like, there's many women that look exotic, no matter what their skin tone is. But you know, also when you said earlier, the thing I think that bothered me the most was always hearing that I'm stuck up, or I think I'm better than woman of color.
Oh my God.
Like any woman for that, but any woman of color, right? Because this doesn't, like, my white counterparts in college didn't see my light skinnedness. They just thought I was black. They just saw black. They didn't see anything else.
Just like if someone is black and white, they're gonna see them as black. Like Obama.
Yes. So in my own community, like even us going out back in the day, like I still kind of have a fear in a sense of walking into a place because I feel like eyes are on me. And it could be just me, right? Like people are a mirror of who you are and what you think. And a lot of the colorism issues come from how people see themselves and they portray that on their people. So that could be part of it. But I used to always hear like, yo, you're stuck up. You think you're all that. You're too good. And I'm like, actually, I'm none of those things. Like, I never once thought I was stuck up. Like, I don't think I'm too good. I have a lot of insecurities, you know, but I don't hear that from my deeper, darker skin cousins, right? Or my sister. My sister's dark. My sister, if she got on this live right now with the same ponytail, you could tell it's my sister. But she is darker skin. Her father is dark. My mom's light. My parents both are lighter skin. So, but she's still my blood sister. And often, sometimes when we're out or I introduce her, I'm like, no, but this is my real sister. And it's crazy because, like, why do I feel like I have to say that? Like, yo, this is my real sister. It goes back to what has kind of been in our minds or the experiences that we went through.
Right.
Like, prove that.
Right.
So I also agree with something. Fast food marketing, typically a darker family is showcased.
Yep. That's crazy. And fast food,
that's deep. It's just like they're showcased as being more aggressive, more assertive. There was School Days. I don't know if you remember School Days. It was like art, like that was the whole preface of it. And then sororities and fraternities too. Like when I was in college, it was deltas are darker skinned women. And I believe it was the AKAs. Somebody strangle me if I got it wrong, but like the AKAs, it was the pink and green. They were getting pretty. And so like at a point, somebody was like, oh, you should be an AKA, right? Because I'm like and pretty, like it's just crazy.
Yeah. Most of these reality shows are just trying to portray stereotypes and fads. Yes. My brother is a lot darker than I am, and growing up, I remember him saying I was lucky. Wow.
Ooh, that's deep.
Yes. And one of the statistics I have that even you saying that, Edgar, is a light-skinned black male with a bachelor's degree in typical work experience was preferred over a dark-skinned black male with an MBA in past managerial positions. And I think for men in society, light skin versus dark skin, I think the darker man is viewed from corporate America or other men or the white man as the aggressor. He is the troublemaker. he is a thug, where they'll look at a lighter skinned black man as, well, he probably grew up in a suburb or a nice neighborhood, so maybe we'll give him a shot. And that's very unfair to our men out there as well, because I think that's what they portray them as, you know.
Yeah. And then, like, do guys have a preference with who they want to date? Because that's another thing. Because I was listening to a few podcasts and a few YouTube videos, and a lot of it, the feedback was, we put a bit of colorism issue back on the men, and we give them kind of the burden of being a part of the problem versus a part of the solution based on how they
choose.
Like, I prefer to date a light-skinned woman, or whatever the case may be. So I'm just curious for any of the guys, and feel free to comment if you have a preference. And is that preference based on skin tone, or is that preference based on like personality or something else?
Or experience, right? Exactly. Because I've heard from guys say that they had more issues with dating lighter skinned women. But then there's been other types of issues with dating darker skinned women. So I'm very curious to that as well. And I think overall, all of us have a preference in a sense, but I think it's just who you're more naturally attracted to. And what are those things that attract people? Like for you, I don't think you have a real...
Here we go.
Here
we go.
I don't think you have like a real light, dark preference, whatever. Because
you said I don't have a preference?
No, because you've dated, like I said last time, you've dated from very light, white, caramel, dark skins. I mean, so you've kind of been within the melting pot of that. Where for me, I've dated majority lighter skinned guys. Like I don't think I've ever dated a darker skinned guy. The darker, he probably was more like a caramel brown, was the darkest I've ever dated. But I also never really thought about it like that. It just wasn't, I don't know, it was just something that I was attracted to.
Right. And to Elsa's point, light skinned and dark skinned girls have their own experiences, but I believe dark skinned girls have it hard, especially in the workplace. She says it all the time. 100%. Totally agree. And I think that's one thing like we can agree upon is definitely darker skinned women have it harder in terms of how much they make, the attention, dating, like all avenues. And part of the reason why Beyonce came out with brown skinned girls, like to celebrate. The music industry is crazy. I remember seeing something about Straight Outta Compton, and they were doing the casting call for Straight Outta Compton, and they rated the women in categories from like A to D. And A was like light skin, very pretty. D was like dark skin, not attractive. And I'm like, whoever wrote that, like that shit is crazy. The casting director, like that shit's horrible, first of all.
That's terrible.
But I definitely agree with Elsa in that comment that it is harder, and there's aggression behind that in having the conversation. There's a YouTube that I watched, and literally you could feel the fire, and you could feel the frustration and the anger that came out of having just the conversation about colorism.
Right.
And it runs deep, and I get it. It's just like Black Lives Matter, like that's a part that runs deep too. But I think when it comes to colorism, is where do we stop being a part of it and like make it better? Like racism, yeah, we can be a part of it. We can try to correct the system and undo the wrongs, but that it's a lot of work. But when it's within our own community, it's like, how do we fix that? Just like Black on Black violence, like how do we fix that? How do we change the cycle? What do we teach our kids so that they don't grow up and feel like when they're going off to school, I'm saying to my daughter, you're light skinned, you're pretty, you got long hair, you got to watch out.
Yeah, right. And I think it's more of like that conversation piece that needs to happen with us as adults, and also with our children, to realize like there's many crayons colors in the box. And I love that the Crayola did a like shades, face shades or whatever of crayons. And I bought a couple of them because I was like, I got to keep these, but I bought it for the boys. And that's a conversation in itself, when they're drawing stick figures and they're drawing people. And it's like, okay, well, mommy's this color, daddy's this color, I'm this color, auntie's this color, you know, so and so's this color, and they have that option to see that there's many shades of color, and it's all okay. So it's really with the conversation to be had, and with us as Black women to have those type of forums to be able to do so. And I don't know if there's many things out there. I'm sure there's groups and things like that, but I haven't really come across anything like that. Maybe I have to dig in a little bit deeper research on it. But having those things in the mentoring programs for young girls and telling them, you know, you're beautiful, your hair is beautiful, you know, across the board.
Right. And I like that you said, and telling them that they're beautiful, their hair is beautiful, without adding on that your hair is beautiful, you're beautiful for a dark skinned girl.
Correct.
Right? Because like that's the part where it's like, what the fuck? Like, why do I have to be pretty for a light skinned girl? Why do I have to be beautiful to be a dark skinned girl? Or why like not all light skinned women have curly hair? Like you go up in the back of my situation, you can buy, okay, I see you, you might need to comb that little situation out back there. So, you know, it like getting rid of that second part of for a XYZ woman based on skin tone, or for XYZ man, like to Edgar's point, he always received the pass because on paper his name is nondescript, but when he walked into a room for a job, it's like, oh, he's a non-threatening Black guy, so
because he's very light. Yes, he's very very light, right? So they're not looking at it like he's gonna go off on us right now. He grew up with a father. You know, these stereotypes are just gonna come at him as a light-skinned Black man, light-skinned Black man.
Yeah, and I've been a victim of, because I'm thinking about Edgar and his appearance, right? Light skin, green eyes, and I've been a victim. Is victim the right word? No, I wasn't victim. What do you say when you're like the person who does the shit that you're not supposed to be doing? I can't think of the word right now. I'm like, wait a minute.
A person you've done not supposed to do it.
Yeah. Okay. So
an advocate?
No,
that's not it.
No. So let me just say what else I say instead of trying to be overly fucking intelligent right now.
You're trying to be very smart right now.
If there's somewhere I can't get it out, but I would see if I seen someone who was of a darker skin tone that had green eyes, it was almost like, oh, like that can't happen or not supposed to happen. It's the craziest thing. But
or you're like, oh, they got contacts.
Right, like you didn't expect that to
like
be
that.
like
girl, take them contacts out. Like, what's her name on what's the show? Housewives of Atlanta. Kenya Moore has like a lighter eye color, you know, and she's a little bit of a darker skinned woman. And they always be like, take them contacts out. They don't realize, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, no, her family, that's her eyes are, you know. Nyce says, I don't have a type, though. A beautiful dark-skinned woman makes my mouth water. Okay. A shout out to artists like Wale who go above and beyond to cast dark-skinned women for his videos. Elsa, there's so many beautiful dark-skinned women. We need to cast them. Yes.
And to that point, it was like, remember, some people were in an uproar about Black Panther and like the cast being majority, it's not almost everybody, of a darker skin tone, and like the light skin community being like, well, why aren't we represented? Like, okay, bro, like we've been represented in everything.
We everywhere. Yes, unfortunately, they put us in everything. And the music especially, you know, growing up, you would see, even still now, they have the light skin, more of a light skin women. And there's always phases of it too. It's like you have the Brazilian women who's light skinned. You have the Hispanic woman who's like, I feel like they always went through those phases of light skinned women in different cultures.
Right. So for you, you know, what has been, or how I should say, how does colorism affect like your interactions with other Black women? Because I know like we've experienced some things together, you've experienced some things on your own.
Yeah, I had two friends of mine, actually. They're both friends of mine. But one of them would constantly make jokes and be like, oh, this is the light-skinned crew. You know, if I had an event and they weren't there, oh, I wasn't invited because I wasn't part of the light-skinned crew. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And then she would run off names of people that were there who all happened to be lighter skin.
I'm like,
Yeah, you were one of them, right? And I'm like, you really tallying this right now? Like, girl, I mean, you were invited to this, you didn't come to that, and it kind of was like it became a joke. And then it started to turn serious where a lot of times we would have conversation. It was always oh, I'm gonna hang out with my brown skin friends because I can't hang out with the light girls. You light skin girl. And I'm like, and I had to pull aside one time. And I'm like, is there a problem? Like, do we really have a problem? Because I'm not looking at it like, oh, she's my brown skin friend and I'm her light skin friend. Like, I'm looking at it like we're friends. So that was always a challenge for me. And I think now where we're at now, I haven't really had that come up. But I don't know if we were to be in a situation again, that she would be, I would feel uncomfortable for her to bring it up again because it's an uncomfortable thing because I'm not understanding why you keep bringing these up. Or, being out with another friend of mine who's beautiful. She's darker skinned, gorgeous, right? And not being hit on as much in that particular arena as like I was. And not saying I was getting hit on like by every guy or whatever, right? But just that, and I'm in like, well, nobody's gonna like me. They're always gonna go to you anyway because you're light skinned. They don't like the dark skinned girls in here. And I'm like, what? I'm like, are you kidding me? You're beautiful. The confidence you have to do the stuff that you do, like, it's crazy to me. But already having that mindset going in, like, oh, we're gonna go to an event and Lisa's gonna get all the play. No one's gonna talk to me because I'm with the light skinned girl.
Yeah, and that happened a lot with us in terms of us going out together because we were thick as thieves, still are. Like, if I'm somewhere, you're not there, someone's like, "Where's Lisa?" They might even say, "Where's me?" Right?
Yes, right.
If you're right. I'm not there, they're like, "Where's Lisa?" So the two of us together going out and being around, these other people in that same circle, it got uncomfortable at certain points because it's like,
yes,
we're not understanding it, right? And people could say we don't understand it because of the lack of privilege and we didn't go through what they have gone through or may have experienced or their understanding of the colorism part. But on the opposite side, it was like, I'm not asking for any of this. Not that I'm trying to get sympathy, right? Because like, I can't change the color of my skin. I mean, I can go tan, right? But like, whatever. But in all reality, like,
and we love a good tan.
Everyone, huh?
I say, and we love a good tan.
Yeah, I do like a good color. But like, we always looked at our friends like everyone is a beautiful woman. That's where you wouldn't even be hanging with us. It's not superficial. But it was always.
I mean, let me sip this tea.
It was always uncomfortable because I'm like, okay, if someone else walks up to us and they try to talk to us, then we're gonna have to hear this in the car on some sideways shit because it was never direct. It was never a moment of like, you know what, this is what I've been through. I feel, this kind of way. Yeah. How can you guys help me as friends with it? It was always some undercut, shady shit comments that happened, and it's like, I again just not understanding it. So having had the moment to research this topic more as we brought this to the forefront, it's all about learning and understanding for like, you have to understand for awareness. You have to understand to be able to relate to someone else and be at their level, right? Not that you have to stay at their level, but be at their level in terms of understanding where they're coming from and their perspective.
Right. Because then I had to think about it too. I was like, let me go back, and I'm like, okay, I'm almost like, how when white people got to count how many black friends they have, like, and I got to a point where I was like, okay, let me count how many brown skinned friends I have, and I'm like, why am I doing that? That's crazy to me. Like, why do I feel like I have to do that? And that it was very, very uncomfortable, and I think still to this day, I don't know exactly their real issue with it. Which I'd love to be open and talk to that person about it. If you watching, you know who you are. And I can't. I'm just saying, because we're on YouTube and everybody watches. So, girl, you're watching. Let's talk, boo, because we love each other, and that's all I got to say about that. Yeah.
So, Leonard Pearson. Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh. I've dated both, and they both are beautiful and crazy and strong-minded in different ways and come with great strengths and their own insecurities as well. I would have liked that without the crazy part, because that's a whole topic for a whole nother episode. Because
the crazy is the low. Yeah,
I'm over men saying women are crazy. Like that.
I like the strong-minded, but the crazy gotta go, bro.
it gotta go. Like, we might have to put that into another topic, because like, no. But it's still love for you, Lenny, because you always watch Nyce Kids, so we love you. But yeah, and again, I think it goes both ways. No matter what skin tone you are, no matter what body parts you have, majority of us come with our own insecurities and our own strengths. And so you got to look at people from the lens of loving them for who they are. But the bigger message is, how do we as a community, stop the cycle? And how do we not engage in the small things that are small but are really big, right? Like light skin versus dark skin comments, supporting television shows that we probably shouldn't support. All of those things, really have to be thought about, and like the people we support, like we have to be more aware of what role do we play in making this better or making it worse.
Yes. And as individuals, we got to do that within our communities, because we're not at that. I mean, we could be, or we could, and it's hard to influence Hollywood and the media, from where we're sitting. But I mean, anything is possible. Anything can happen. But I think that's where it needs to be a big change as well. What's out on the media. We've watched Coming to America too, which we talked about last week in a current event. And I know I saw a lot of different things pop up with that as well, where, if the original one, when Eddie Murphy married Lisa, his wife, she was light skinned. And it's like, you're coming from Zamunda and with all these great chocolate brown skinned women. But you went out and you got you a light skinned broad.
Yeah. Or red bone.
Redbone, right?
I used to hate being called a Redbone, by the way.
I don't like it. I don't get it either.
And Homegirl, the one that does the ooh, 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 ooh.
Yo, with your bun right now, the way you did it, you look kind of just like this broad right now, because you did the whole, like, you had.
Yo, you can always count on me for some super lame shit.
Yo, you had the whole, the earrings, the everything. You came through with it. Like, I'm like, okay, sis, hold on, you looking like Homegirl right now.
Hold on. But she had been like, she went and wanted that lead role, and she was denied the lead role ultimately. She said it was based on her skin tone. But even Martin and Gina, I mean,
yes,
even Pam and Gina, Martin,
yes,
Pam was always drugged from left to right. Drugged,
yes,
drag.
She was drugged. I'm like, girl, that sounds like some Bill Cosby stuff. She wasn't drugged from left to right, girl. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. They got rid of the auntie. They got rid of the dark skinned auntie and got the light skinned auntie. You know what I mean? So many things growing up and seeing that.
Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to ask to anyone watching, comment, emojis, right? So at a point there was only one option for emojis. It was like the lightest of the light, aka white person, and now there's shades. Like, do people use the emoji that's based on their actual skin tone?
I do.
Okay.
Because I sure do use the girl that be like this, and I'm like, that's me. That's me.
You got on the purple right now too, so you look just like her.
I know. I'm like, that's how she be too. Like, I don't know.
But like someone, like a woman, for example, who's a darker skin, like, does she use the darker skin emoji, or is that like another, like, ooh, I don't want to use that? I don't know. It was a super random thought, but I just thought about it.
That's a good thought though, because even when you're doing like the hands up or the thumbs up, they have the multiple colors for that. Yeah, that's a good question.
Food for thought.
Yes. Maybe we should poll it as well.
Anything that we did cover that you want to cover? Colorism, like any of the statistics I know you went over the jail time.
I didn't go to jail time. The work, but yeah, definitely, I do have some statistics that I thought were pretty interesting. That researchers found that light-skinned women were sentenced to approximately 12% less time behind bars than their darker-skinned counterparts. Women with light skin served 11% less time in prison than darker-skinned women. This was University of Georgia study that showed that employers preferred a light-skinned Black man versus to a dark-skinned man, regardless of the qualification. So going back to if a light-skinned, man had a bachelor's degree, typical work experience, over a darker skin who had an MBA, past work experience, which is crazy. Darker skinned defendants, which I think goes back to talking about our Black men, dark skinned defendants are more likely to be convicted and receive the death penalty than lighter skinned ones. It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so crazy to me. And there's a lot of this was talking about, with skin lightening cream. There's in India, 38 million users of a specific lightening cream that they use, which is called Fair and Lovely. It promises an even tone of glowing skin with skin lightening to that. And then we talked about, South Africa promotes on billboards, in Africa for skin bleaching, which is crazy.
It's a big thing. Yeah. And the Philippines too, like the lighter the better. So like they have doctors that will inject it's something that's not even like FDA approved in the cosmetic world or whatever, but it like is the skin from the inside, and it's like it's a $1 billion business. And it starts from like grade school. It starts with kids and making sure like we're instilling good values in them, and love your brother, love your sister kind of thing, versus one person is better than the other is really important, because it starts in the home too.
It definitely starts in the home. With all of that, because you can control with your child. You can control what your child is watching. You can control what your child is listening to, and they're going to get the outside influences. But if you're having that consistent conversation with them and being real and transparent with them, that definitely can spark a whole nother wave. But I think there is a lot to be done within this topic of colorism. A lot more conversation that needs to be had, and a lot more honesty within us as Black women, to understand each other and why we feel the way we do against each other,
And having the sensitivity to the darker skinned women, to this point earlier, that obviously have it, worse than we do as light skinned women. There is privilege, and I won't deny that there is, a certain level of privilege that we get.
Right.
But to my brothers out there too, be mindful. Be mindful. Make sure you're uplifting your sisters, and
all colors.
Yeah, we just everybody matters. Everybody matters. We all matter. So next week's episode, I can't do that either. I need enter the last screen.
Hold on.
You might not be. Wait. The face.
I'm doing that. I'm doing that.
You about to do the Run DMC or whatever that is.
Yo,
old school dance.
I'm doing the Cabbage Patch.
Yeah, but again, for anyone who watched the episode, whether you jumped on for 10 minutes or a minute, or you've been here the whole time, we totally appreciate you. Lisa and I have been doing this for many weeks, and
make sure you like, you share, you have subscribed, tell a friend to subscribe. And always hit that like button. Please hit the like button. We need it. We love the likes because we love y'all. So we just asking y'all to like us. You know what I'm saying? Because we loving y'all. So just hit the like button and share. Definitely share. If it's a topic that you're interested in, and or you feel like it can touch somebody else, or it can open up a conversation with someone else that you may know, share it. Share it with them. Tell a friend and tell a friend. But next week, what you talking about?
Huh?
What's going on next week?
Oh, and I was gonna say, give us feedback, share with us. We want to make sure what we talk about is relevant to the audience, and we bring y'all some good content. So next week I'm excited because we're talking about keys to financial independence and retirement goals, investing, you know, whether it's a small business or whatever the case may be, understand banking. And we have Sneaker Greek, who's Edgar, who's actually was on the live and had comments. So thank you for always supporting Nyce Kicks. Yes. Been our dude for many years. We go way back like cook crack. So I'm excited to have him on next week on our episode of Nyce Kicks. So if you have, you know, some financial goals, some things that you want to work on personally,
yes,
we're getting down to business. And bless you.
Me, guys. Woo!
Bless you for the live sneeze.
Woo! Yes. Right? I was trying to hold it into him. Like, okay.
Didn't work.
Oh, Lord Jesus. Okay. Yes. Love y'all. We'll see y'all.
Yes. Love y'all. We be crazy. Lisa be losing it. That's the one.
How me? I'm not even drunk right now. First of all, these lit on lives are becoming dry on lives now.
Yeah, I mean it changed from IG live, so it's a different situation. You gotta figure it out. We getting deep now. We getting deep, so we want to make sure we talk about deep.
We getting deep, y'all. I like deep.
All right, y'all know when we run out of shit to say because we just be talking about a bunch of nothing. So we are going to end this episode of Nyce Kicks.
Look at his emoji. All right, now.
Facts. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. Hope you learned something. Thank you for the input, everybody. Appreciate y'all.
Yes.
Have a great rest of your weekend.
Deuces.
See y'all next week.
Love y'all.